And to salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the general public here and at home, this evening we will do our budget presentation. After our budget presentation, we'll have some presentations for some students and some great achievements. And after that, we'll come back and go over our consent agenda. At this time, Mr. Alfano, can you please call the roll?
I will, Mr. Capano. Mrs. Abreu?
Here.
Mr. Capano?
Here.
Mrs. Fredo? Mr. Garcia?
Here.
Mr. Nadrew?
Here.
I know Dr. Pontoliano is here. Oh, there. Oh, Letitia,
Switched it up a little bit.
you tricked me. Dr. Pontoliano? Mr. Raincourt?
Yeah.
Mr. Russo? I don't see. Mr. Terabacchia?
Yeah.
I see. And Mr. Yanizzi is not here.
Lou, is it, do we have to do our opening statement?
Yes, I'll read that right now, Mr. Capano.
Thank you.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Cliffside Park Board of Ed has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the office of the Board of Ed, the offices of the school numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6, and the high school on March 19, 2025. And notices were forwarded to the reporters of the record, March 19, 2025. This is an official meeting.
So this evening, we'll, before we start with our budget presentation, I want to thank everybody that was an essential part of putting the budget together, from our superintendent to Lou Alfano and his staff, and also to our great administrators that work closely with Lou Alfano in conjunction of trying to put a fiscally responsible budget in front of the voters and the taxpayers here in Cliffside Park. So Lou, I'll turn it over to you for your budget presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Capano. Yeah, I want to reiterate, Mr. Capano, I really want to thank the board for all their support, the administrators, our business office staff, obviously the public, the municipality. Everyone has been very gracious and very supportive. So I just want to take the time to thank everyone. So the 2025-2026 budget, which will commence July 1st, 2025, and end June 30th, 2026. Tonight, as part of the public consent agenda, we'll be approving the final budget. The overall budget is approximately $72 million, and I'll go through some quick trend analyses over the last 3 years so folks can understand where the key metrics are moving. Of that $72 million, about $69 million we call the general fund, and approximately $3 million is the general fund. That general fund is made up of federal and state grants. The local tax levy is approximately $40,950,000. Again, we'll go through what that means to the taxpayer and how much it's gone up year over year. And we also have, as we do each year, a statement of capital projects, which are got approximately $4 million in capital projects. Specifically, we're going to engage potentially the multi-purpose room upgrade at School 6, potentially engage 2 gymnasium HVAC projects at school numbers 3 and school number 4. Those are the 3 major bidded projects that we are looking to engage in regard to the $4 million allocated for capital reserve projects for 2025-2026.
Mr. Alfano, I just want to be mindful to the general public that $4 million capital improvement project is privy of the procurement and bidding process, and the $4 million, hypothetically, if the multi-purpose room comes in at $1.8 million, hypothetically, we have a cost estimate, I think, Lou, of around $2 million?
$1.75.
Then the Board of Education, and then all the other projects, the HVAC project for number 4 school, as everybody knows, when you're at number 4 school during the end of the year, it gets hot and sticky, and that's the only part of the building that's not air conditioned, so we're trying to allocate some capital dollars there. And in reference to number 3 school, the same way. But please be mindful, if hypothetically the multi-purpose room comes in at 2.2 and the Board of Education feels that let's move forward with the multi-purpose room, we're still going to draw from that $4 million pot that may not give us the possibility to do an HVAC project. So everyone want to be mindful of that. It goes through the bidding process, and then we sit down with our engineers and architects and make a determination of what we can afford and what we can do. Just want everyone to be mindful.
Yeah, that's-
Continue, Mr.
I
Alfano.
have a question. for
Sure.
you, Only because I got this from the public. Can you just be specific when you're talking about the multi-purpose room in School 6?
If you look
Because
at-
I'm getting the question, isn't that brand new? I think people
No,
are
that's the
confusing
middle
that.
school.
Right, so
That
I think
it's
we
on
need to
its own.
distinguish that.
That's the multi-purpose room is the older part of the building that we held a lot of recreation functions, a lot of school functions. It pretty much, Mrs. Calabrese can interject, it caters to grades
Right now, it's 5 and 6.
right, 5 and 6, and then
And
the middle
remember,
school
it's
caters to
district-wide.
7th, 8th, right. But that room, that multi-purpose room slash gym, concerts, there's an auditorium in there with seating, and there's a gym that is, don't like to use the terminology antiquated, but it's a little bit outdated. So it needs to bring up to par, and we also want to make sure that, structurally sound for the future and everything.
So for the general public, what you're calling the multi-purpose room is really the original gym.
Correct.
It's basically still the original gym that hasn't really been touched.
Correct. For the elementary section of number 6 school, then the new addition that was constructed in '95, the middle school has a newer, more modern gym. So I think it's needs to be done. It was part of our physical need assessment that we do every X amount of years to give us a forecast of where our buildings are going to be and what needs to be done. We don't just pick this out of a hat. We hire professionals like engineers that come out, and that's mandated by the state statute in the Department of Education to do a physical need assessment. So that's what we're doing, and that was on our wish list, but it comes down to dollars and cents. And in any other district, be mindful, and again, I'm always going to put Cliffside Park first. Projects of this magnitude, they go out on a referendum. When you go out on a referendum, it affects the taxpayers. We've been fortunate enough with prudent and responsible budgeting, we're able to do these projects at no impact to the taxpayer from the tax levy. Yes, the taxpayer has a big part of the budget because everyone's taxes do go up, but this is included in our budget to do this project, these various projects. Anything else from the board? Turn it back over to Mr. Alfano.
Yes, Mr. Capone, just to piggyback on that, yes, the $4 million is a trigger to previous historical surplus that we've banked and used for facilities projects each year, anywhere from between $2 and $4 million each year. We're fortunate enough to bank and use for capital projects, which ultimately we don't have to go to referendum and impact the taxpayer any further. So in regard to the levy, yeah, we talked about the $40,900,000 and change. In regard to the total levy, that's up 3.51% year over year. And we're always mindful of the taxpayer, so we work with our borough municipality, Frank Barato, the CFO, and he does a calculation based on the average tax assessed home value of approximately $400,000. If your home is assessed at $800,000, then the impact is linear. It'll be twofold, the tax impact. So for an average assessed home value of approximately $400,000, it's going to increase your taxes approximately $100. If your home is worth $800,000, it's going to increase your taxes approximately $200. So it's linear. Again, we're always mindful of the taxpayer, but the reality of it in regard to what's been happening right now in regard to our expenditures, we're at this 2% cap. And the struggle is we have our medical and our prescription going up some north of 20% per annum over the last 2 years. That's created a very large challenge in regard to trying to balance the zero-sum budget. So that's the levy, up 3.51%, $40,900,000, approximately $100 increase in taxes for a $400,000 assessed home. We have miscellaneous income. Transportation is the largest component of that, and by transportation we mean we transport other school districts to schools that we take our out-of-district students to, and we transport Fairview, Powell Park, and Richfield to those same schools. It earns us about $800,000 per annum, which is a real positive for the district, adds a revenue source, and other components of that is interest and whatever. That's been pretty much flat year over year. Tuition that we receive from Fairview. We are the host district, Fairview is the sending district. We're up about $600,000 year over year. That's due to the rates have gone up. The certified rates from the state have gone up year over year for regular and special needs tuition students. And we're projecting approximately an additional 15 to 18 Fairview students coming over from the middle school in Fairview to our high school next year. Couple the rate increase with incremental students, that gives us an increase of approximately $600,000 year over year in tuition income, which totals about $10.5 million. We also we talked about surplus that we use for capital projects. We also use a component of the surplus to fund future budgets. So we used approximately $1 million of surplus to fund the 25-26 budget to help us offset some of the incremental increases, such as medical and RX increases. We talked about the $4 million in capital reserve projects. Mr. Capano embellished on that. We also, our state aid went up approximately $500,000 year over year, which is a good thing, but there was a component that sits outside of state aid called Medicaid aid, and that went down $200,000. So net, our aid, in quotes, was up about $300,000 year over year. And our federal and state grants, Title I, IDEA. IDEA is special needs grant that helps offset our out-of-district tuition for students, was pretty much flat year over year. So net all that out, that's our $72 million budget. Levy up 3.51%, miscellaneous income, which is transportation, flat. Our tuition's up about $600,000 year over year. Our surplus that we use for future appropriations to pay future expenses is flat. Our capital reserve is $4 million, and our state aid is up about $600,000 year over year, and our grants are flat. That's essentially your revenues. Obviously, we have to balance. Our revenues must equal our expenses. And we call these appropriations. And our instruction is relatively flat year over year, and the reason why it's flat, even though we have incremental new staff, we've had breakage, where essentially we've had retired teachers making X, bringing on new teachers, making Y. Less breakage, more teachers, same dollars, so the overall instruction is relatively flat year over year. The subcomponent that continues to go up year over year is our special education teachers, because our special education number of students with IEPs continues to grow. So that component within instruction has continued to grow year over year. The real impact to appropriations expenses that I mentioned in the revenues was our employee benefits are up significantly, 20%. On an absolute basis, it's up nearly $2 million year over year, our premiums for
Mr. Alfano,
medical and prescription.
Right,
Yes.
if I can interject on
Sure.
the medical, portion of our budget. As you know, the entire district is in the state New Jersey health benefit program, and working at a housing authority that also is under the New Jersey State Health Benefit Plan. We've seen a 17 to 24% spike in Blue Cross Blue Shield medical and prescription, and that does not include also dental and vision that are provided to employees here at the district. So it's 1 year, Lou, we were lucky, we only had 8%, but the last few years we're experiencing 20 double digits here.
Correct.
Yeah, so that does impact the budget tremendously.
Yes.
Thank you, Lou.
Of course. And, we also work with our consultant, Brown & Brown, and we're trying to see if we have the opportunity to maybe engage private plans, but unfortunately they call it our modification factors. What we pay in and what's being paid out by the insurance company exceeds 1.0 factor. So unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity currently, based on our modification factor, to engage the potential for private plans. So we are where we are right now. The state understands that this is not sustainable, especially with a 2% cap, and you're getting 20% increases, plus increases year over year. They know that's not sustainable. Supposedly there's going to be a meeting of the minds in the coming months, and hopefully there gets some relief down the road. The next component, we talked about instruction, we talked about the benefits, the operations, we call it, of the plant. That's really any maintenance of the buildings and grounds, salaries of our custodians, supplies, etc. That's essentially been relatively flat year over year. Administrative salaries, principals, secretaries, professional services. Again, that's been relatively flat year over year. Again, we've had some breakage, some more mature folks leaving, bringing in younger staff, which we have some breakage, so you have incremental staff, but you keep your overall dollars flat. Our transportation, which we mentioned, is also, not only is it an expense component, it's a revenue component, because we transport multiple schools to schools that we go to where we take our out-of-district students. So our transportation is actually not only generates expenditures, but it generates revenues. And our transportation essentially is the cost of the bus drivers and maintaining our buses. We have a bus fleet of approximately 24, and about 8 of those buses are less than 5 years old. The board's been kind enough that each and every year that we bring on 1 to 2 additional, whether they're 29, 39, or 54 passenger buses, that we bring on new buses, so we're kind of swapping out the old for new. Again, we're fortunate enough that we got approval for 2 new 54 passenger buses for the 25-26 budget. That keeps our fleet renewed, reduces our maintenance costs, and keeps our drivers happy, because if you haven't been one of those buses that are relatively old in the tooth, it's quite a ride. And those costs have been relatively flat year over year. Instructional support services such as guidance, nurses, child study team, educational media services. That has ticked up, again, because specifically through child study team and support services, that's increased because the number of child study team students continues to increase. So that's also always, it's going to be a challenge moving forward. And another challenge is our out-of-district students, which we've held relatively flat, thanks to Charlene Pinto and her team over the last couple of years. The students that go out of district, that we simply can't handle, whether it's behavioral or physical or a combination of both, has been relatively flat. But unfortunately, the tuition that we have to pay for each student has gone up considerably, double digits each year for over the last 3 years. So that's the challenge. That's another challenge that we're facing. And then we talked about our federal grants. We've got more PEA money, that's preschool education money, and the reason for that is we're looking to expand our preschool, especially our regular students that were half-day. We're looking to incrementally move them to, correct me if I'm wrong, Donna, right, to full day? Right, and that's where we got some incremental dollars for that in regard to the early parts of the expansion process. So we got some extra money in regard to that from the state and the Fed, which is very helpful. But overall, besides PEA, our grants are relatively flat. A lot of folks have asked me, with the new regime, political regime, what does that mean for Title I through Title IV, which is federal money? We don't have a crystal ball. But I can tell you IDEA, which helps us offset, that's for students with disabilities, helps us offset our out-of-district tuition we have to pay for out-of-district students, and Title I money, which is for our students with English as a second language or lower income students. Those 2 grant allocations total approximately $2 million. So we hope the Fed leaves it alone or even gives us incrementally more, because that's a huge help in us balancing our zero-sum budget. So just in giving you a summary, our instructional costs are relatively flat. Our benefits are up almost $2 million year over year. Our operations of plant are flat. Our administrative costs are flat. Our transportation costs are flat. Our instructional support, specifically the guidance and child study team, are up. We spoke about that. And our federal and state grants are relatively flat, with the exception of the incremental increase we got with the PEA, the preschool expansion.
Anything else, Mr.
Steve, sit
Alfano?
here and I'll move over one.
No.
That's,
Sit next to you.
that's pretty much it, Mr. Capano and Dr. Hayes.
Thank you.
At this time, anybody from the public have any questions or comments on the budget presentation? Now you can come forward. Oh, sure.
If I may.
Yeah.
Can I just interject? I apologize. We were going to kind of start bringing the students and then engage all the questions at the end after the consent agenda?
I think we should focus on the budget because it's fresh in everybody's
Okay,
mind. So if
that's
we have
fine.
any comments or questions on the
Okay,
budget.
no problem at all. No problem at all.
I think that's the right course to take.
Okay.
I'll turn it
Dr.
over to-
Pantiano?
Dr.
Yes.
Pantiano?
Apologize for interrupting.
No, I have a couple of questions. You said the tax levy was 3.51%?
the incremental increase.
But the state allows for a 2% cap. Does that mean we'll be voting on this budget? Or do we come within the 2% cap because of your allowable expenses in certain areas?
Yeah, we got two line items that we got adjustments for, healthcare
Right.
and enrollment. Those make up approximately 1.5%. They made up approximately $600,000, which is an additional 1.5%. That's allowable above the 2% cap. And if you think about it, Dr. Pantoliano, our enrollment continues to tick up, especially our special needs component and our
Excuse me.
English as a second language
Yes,
group.
sir.
And we also know that our
Enrollment in the health.
healthcare, prescription medical went up $2 million. So what the state does, they give you a little bit of help in regard to what they call adjustments. And those adjustments do not go against your 2% cap. But it does impact ultimately the taxpayer because your levy is going up by 1%. But it doesn't impact, it's an allowable adjustment above the 2%. That's how we got to the 3.51. So we were at 2. The 2 allowable adjustments was healthcare and enrollment. That got us to 3.51.
So our constituents will not be voting on the budget because it's within the 2% cap that everybody in the state of New Jersey has to be within, correct?
Correct, that is a correct.
Because Cliffside is one of the 16 districts left in the state of New Jersey that still would give our constituents an opportunity to vote on the budget if we were above the 2%,
That's correct.
right?
That's correct.
You stayed within the 2%, so there's no voting on the budget just because that's allowable.
That is a correct statement.
So I wanted to make sure, because otherwise, we would be voting on the budget, because we're one of the 16, one of the 4 in Bergen County, that still give our constituents that opportunity,
Yes.
right?
We are the last 4 of the
We're the last
7
4 in Bergen County.
of the
that-
72 or something like
But
that.
because we stayed within the 2%,
Yes.
we won't see that on the,
That is correct.
All right, 2 more questions, I'm sorry. I was happy about this, but I don't think it was brought up. What positions were added to the budget? Because I always love when we get to put
Child-
things in for kids.
We added a autistic teacher, and we added, I believe, 2 guidance. So
We did add the guidance counselor,
yes, we
right?
did, and I believe, Dr. Pantoliano, the reason why we did that, and you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, we wanted to have guidance in each school.
Right.
So they're not, it's not a shared space. We have staff, guidance staff in each school.
All right.
So
I wanna be-
Elementary school.
I want to be clear on that.
Elementary
Every
school.
elementary
Thank you,
school-
Mrs. Calabrese.
Every elementary school is going to have its
Right.
own dedicated guidance counselor. They're not
Correct.
going to be running all over the
No.
place, so.
No
when
more
kids-
traveling guidance.
When
Right.
kids'
The-
behaviors.
Correct me, school counselors.
Yes, yeah, I don't know if they're guidance.
No, they're not
anymore, right?
called
But
guidance
so
counselors
every
anymore.
elementary school
Apologies.
is going
Yeah,
to have
school
their
school
own
counselor?
counselor in the building.
Yes.
For
Right.
the kids.
For the kids.
Because I always love, like I said, when we add positions that are dedicated to the kids. And then we're going to add another counselor. Did I see district-wide counselor, even though it's kind of part of the breakage? Were we talking about that before?
We're gonna post tomorrow.
Post.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's good. And my last question, because I've gotten this from the public too, about the preschool expansion, which I am thrilled about, because now we're gonna be serving our 3-year-old and our 4-year-old population. My question is, where are we gonna house those classes? Do you know
So
yet?
we're still trying to figure it out, but there are a lot of, configurations that we're thinking about. But what we can do in here, there are waivers. So from what we're understanding, and Mrs. Martinotti and Mr. Alban have really been, dealing with this. But from what we understand, they're not allowed to be in the structural modulars after year 2026.
Uh-huh.
So we do have to come up with some other kind of a plan after that.
Well, my
So-
favorite place is the Epiphany, but I bring it up all the time,
Yeah, so-
It was nice when, even though I lived next door, it was really nice. I remember when my daughter was little, she didn't go to that program, but it was really nice that we had a whole building for
Dedicated to
preschool,
the-
dedicated just to
Yeah,
preschool. And they had,
PNC.
a principal and teachers, and it was really just all around that particular age group. So I'm always an advocate for that. But thank you very much, Mr. Alfano, for answering my question.
Of course, Dr. Pantoliano, anytime.
Anybody from the public, any questions in reference to tonight's budget presentation? Seeing none, Mr. Savastano, anything from the public? Mr. Alfano, would you like a vote now, or you want to?
We will vote after the consent agenda. It's embedded in, I believe it's Resolution 41.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alfano.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
once again,
Chairman.
I do want to welcome Larry Pinto, the high school principal. I also want to, we have a special guest, Mary Ann, that works in the administrative office. She does a great deal. Mary Ann, thank you for all your help with this budget. I know those long hours that you spent with Mr. Alfano. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mary Ann.
And for the record, we have the Board of Education Attorney, Stephen Fogarty, present also. Thank you for coming this evening, Mr. Fogarty.
My pleasure. Good evening.
Okay, and at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hayes. We have some great presentations on some great work that our administrators, teachers, and students have achieved.
So, Mr. Capano and Lieutenant Tarabaki, would you like to join us?
Down.
Hi, Valentina. Mr. Pinto, Mr. Venezia. Mr. Pinto, am I correct that Mr. Helm
Yeah, Mr. Helm is.
did not show his team? So, ladies and gentlemen, Board of Education, Mrs. Calabrese, members of the public, thank you for all being here. Ladies and gentlemen, you are among greatness tonight. On Monday the 27th, Mr. Venezia sent us an email letting us know that he would like to highlight the incredible effort and achievements of our mock trial team. He was immensely proud of their dedication, skill, and sportsmanship throughout this season. And not only did they qualify for the playoffs, which was an impressive feat alone, they represented the very best of Cliffside Park with their teamwork and determination. He's further predicting that next year, first of all, to the seniors, thank you so much for your leadership, and we wish you great success in your college endeavors. But Mr. Venezia wants us to know that next year, this team's going to be even stronger. He's incredibly fortunate to coach this amazing group, and he knows they're going to continue to make Cliffside Park proud. Congratulations on your success. Thank you for being here tonight. Please.
Do I say it? Do I say something? Or?
Yeah, go ahead, say something, and then call the kids up.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mr. Venezia. I've been mock trial coach since, I think, my first year at Cliffside. I remember the first time we did this, I remember the first competition we went to, we didn't even really know where the courthouse was. So it's very interesting, and whenever we had seniors leave last year, and then they said, oh, we're doing an expanded playoffs this year, and I remember our vice president, Max Grandoff, said to me, we are going to make the playoffs. I'm like, Max, how are you so confident? You haven't seen. He's like, we are making the playoffs, Mr. Venezia. And I will remember that. And there were just so many great times that I've had. I remember Mr. Pinto, when you're walking by the room, it would be a Thursday or Friday night, and we would be still doing all these things, and just it's amazing to work with this group of kids that just, it takes dedication. There's a lot of talk today about how students, they don't know how to do this, but like when I see the amount of time and energy that they put in, and you know that they themselves are practicing, and I'm sure that all of them are looking in front of a mirror and saying, okay, how am I supposed to do this? How am I going to do it? It's an amazing experience just to see that and to experience it. And when you feel that, when as a coach you feel your team is robbed, you definitely feel that. And the enraged isn't that they lost, it's that you didn't lose. It's like, no, they deserved it. So I very much have hope that our team will go further, and every year, I remember the first thing was, we're going to win one. We have a winning record, then we're going to get to the playoffs. It's like, okay, and then we're going to keep going, and maybe in the next couple of years, okay, then we'll win counties. And so we just need to just keep on that track, and I have a great group of kids, and it's great, and it's amazing to know that we have such an amazing board, and we have a principal who has always been supportive of mock trial. Mr. Pinto, whenever I'm walking by him, says, how are things going with mock trial, Mr. Venezia? And he's got 1,000 things to do, and the fact that he will take a couple of minutes just to talk with me about what I always thought was a club shows that we have an administration that is always behind us. And I just want to thank you, and I'm sure that my kids also thank you from the bottom of their hearts.
Paper.
So we want their labels, so do you want to pull them off?
Sure.
And then I'll shake their hand.
All right. All right, we are going to call up our first, the first courtroom artist that our school ever produced for the competition, Victoria Machado. There you go.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Just keep going. Okay, Marita's not here, so do I? All right, one of our go-to witnesses, if we ever need someone to help us out in practice, someone who is always willing to help to make a hand, Senior Sophia Molina. All right. Another one of our seniors. This is her second year. Always willing to help out. Actually, was drafted into being our main witness in the last minute in one of our scrimmages and helped beat Sparta High School. Melanie Ruiz Leon. The main witness in both the last two competitions has a winning record in going up at the competition, Ciara Estrada. Alex not here. Alex, I think Alex is. One of our senior, who was our witness this year, 1-0, Veronica Carrera.
And she's a heck of a basketball player.
I did not know that. Congratulations.
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 Another one of our seniors who's always willing to help out and helped out during the competition as well. Argued with the other team's jury to make sure that we didn't lose on that. Lisbeth. Congratulations. One of our seniors, another one of someone who was a witness this year his first time, did amazing in the competition, Matthew Lazo Picon. Congratulations, Matthew. I'm glad you joined. One of our newest members, who is going to be our president next year,
He's half and
died. I can't. Congratulations. Thank you.
Very well.
Didn't go to Angel's. I like this.
One of our future leaders of the club, a freshman this year, who I remember when her first scrimmage was so nervous that her whole body was shaking, but did amazing in the competition, and I know she's going to be a future leader of the club, and she's probably going to be one of our lawyers next year. Kelly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Another one of our lawyers who I'll always remember gave one of the greatest, and I don't know if that's in quotes or not, but one of the most memorable closing arguments in a scrimmage ever against West Orange, and also competed very well, and and always was willing to be the butt of jokes, which was always welcome during when we would have a 4-hour practice. Nicholas Velasco. I got it in there.
It's okay.
It was a memorable one.
Why did we know this?
One of our freshman members, also a future leader, who was drafted at the last minute in the play, right before our playoff competition, to be a witness, and did amazingly well. Actually made their lawyers stop talking for a couple of seconds. It was actually pretty amazing to watch. And I know that she will be a future leader of the club, and I'm sure she'll be a lawyer in the next year or two. Diana Muhammad. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The only time I've ever had a freshman lawyer in my 7 years of doing this, and she was 1-0 in the competition. And I know that she will continue to be a future leader of the club and will work with Di, Kelly, and Diana next year. Gaia. Good job.
Thank
The person who told me we were going to the playoffs, someone who's always been probably one of the most, I would say, amazing. I've known him in both of the clubs I run. Someone who's always willing to try and is always willing to inspire his team. And I remember, I have so many great memories of working with the vice president of this club as well as the president of my debate club. Max, get up here. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
I may have done this on purpose, but our president, the person who always inspires the team, who always would always ask after either we won or lost to talk to them. And I remember after we lost the playoff game by 1 point, she was as devastated as the rest of the team was, but she kind of just said, look, this is my last time, but I know you guys will do well next year. And it just shows the compassion that she has, and just the fortitude that instead of saying this is how it's going to end, it was more of a focus on she was so concerned about what the team thought and how they're going to take this into the future. And I could go on and on about Maria, but just come up here, Maria. Oh. You're welcome. I forgot Alex. Another one of our witnesses from this year. I apologize, Alex Chittick. So will we send that, will we bring them down, we can call them down or something? Sorry about that, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Venezia, what can we tell you? On behalf of the Board of Education, myself and our Vice President, Teddy Terabacchia, I commend you. We have great leaders coming out of that high school, and it's all that hard work you put together. A great round of applause for all the people that achieved it. And a special thank you to Mr. Venezia for his hard work every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
We want to announce a 2-minute recess. We'll decide next one.
At this moment, we're going to just take a quick 2-minute recess, and then we're going to continue with our Board of Education agenda this evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Cliffside Park Board of Education. Now we're going to focus on the consent agenda. At this time, no, they're not here
Next
this
month.
evening. Next month. Yeah, there was a scheduling conflict. At this time, I know we went out of order, but we normally at this time we do the assistant superintendent's report and the superintendent's report and then committee reports. But I'll start off with Mrs. Calabrese on the assistant superintendent report, please.
Yes, so, thank you. What I'd like to talk to you about is the fact that on Monday, the 31st, we'll be having a full day of professional development. And just so that parents know as well, that it is a full day of professional development with Renaissance Learning will be coming in for, each staff member will receive probably about 2.5 hours of staff development with Renaissance Learning, and then the rest of it will be data analysis for the upcoming NJSLA statewide testing, and also they will be working with their, building supervisors and, working on action plans and lesson plans. And we will also be talking to them about, as a result of our CUSAC findings and whatnot. We're also working on upcoming summer school already. That sounds nice, right? Summer school? Well, summer sounds nice. I don't know about summer school, guys. But we're working on summer school already, and we're already planning, believe it or not, for anticipated openings and whatnot for next year. So we're already planning our 25-26 school year. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Calabrese. Any questions or comments from Mrs. Calabrese from the board? At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hayes for his report.
Just 3 resolutions I'd like to speak to. Personnel resolution number 11. With regret, recommending to the board to accept the retirement of Madeline Colangelo, high school teacher, effective July 1, 2025. I had the pleasure of interacting with her. Resolution number 4, pardon me. I had the pleasure of interacting with her several times, but I am going to ask Mr. Pinto to please comment on her illustrious career with us.
So Ms. Colangelo has been with the district for over 20 years. She's been an extremely impactful special education teacher. She's touched hundreds of students, possibly thousands of students over the course of her career at Cliffside Park High School. She's going to be very difficult to replace. We do wish Ms. Colangelo happy retirement and that she can enjoy it with her grandchildren and go off into the sunset and kind of relax a little bit now that she's not in the classroom anymore.
Thanks so much, Mr. Pinto. Appreciate you being here. I think on resolution number 14 speaks to a calendar adjustment. As you know, we did not use one of our sick days that were banked, and the recommendation to the board. Snow days, what did I say?
Sick days.
So it's on my
All they care about is they're getting the
Snow
day
days.
back.
We're recommending taking on to Memorial Day weekend, Tuesday.
May I interject, Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
I know Mrs. Calabrese can vouch. Teddy, he's older than everybody. What happened, Teddy, to the days when it would snow in April and we didn't go to school? What happens if this happens here, Dr. Hayes?
It snows in April, then I'm standing here
Donna,
apologizing
don't
next
you
month
remember?
that it's no longer a holiday. You're gonna get another resolution saying kill the Wednesday.
I just want the public to understand if we do get a nor'easter or a blizzard in April, school will be in session.
Okay.
So much for the summer school.
Okay, lastly, nobody yell at me on this. 5 HIB investigations, 3 alleged, 2 confirmed. In each of the 5 investigations, counseling, restorative practices, and parental contact was made. And that concludes the report of the superintendent. Panel.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. At this time, committee reports. Any committee reports from the floor? Dr.
I
Pantoliano?
do, because I get to give the athletic report that I love to give. So the high school winter athletics, we have 53 students who were recognized. We had 20 first team all-league, 13 second team all-league, and 11 honorable mention across our winter sports. And we had 2 second team all-county, 4 third team all-county, and 4 honorable mention, which is significant for our winter sports. So congratulations to our athletes who achieved that designation. And the spring athletics is underway. We have baseball, boys tennis, boys volleyball, softball, and novice track and field. I'm anxious to know how our boys volleyball is doing because that's a new sport that we added for the students.
That's great.
And I want to know, how they're doing. So maybe we'll get a report on that, or maybe one of them will come in the future and talk to us about that. Because it's always nice when you can actually add an entire sport. And spring athletics, and very important, is our Ben Luderer Day. That's on April 12th. Leonia will be playing Richfield Park at 10 a.m. Emerson will be playing Richfield at 1, and Cliffside Park will be playing a yet unnamed opponent at 4 p.m. So April 12th, Ben Luderer Day. Thank you.
Any other committee reports? I'll just touch on building and grounds. I want to thank the entire high school staff for being patient with the high school lobby modification. It is open. We're not completely done. We do have some outside work that needs to be completed, and we do have some interior work to put back all our great memorabilia in the high school. A committee has been formed, and we'll be working on that, so I do want to thank everybody on that. At this time, this is the best part of the evening. We ask for a presentation from Valentina on what's going on at the high school. How's your principal treating you there these days?
Amazing.
He's amazing? Okay,
Yeah.
just asking. I'll turn it over to you for your report.
All right, so next week we're having our Spirit Week, which I'm really excited about. All the students get excited to dress up. And then we're also going to have our pep rally, hopefully if the weather is good. And then we also have our fundraiser going on that is going towards the Franciscan, the food pantry. Yes,
Excellent.
in Fairview. And it's like a quarter wars in a way, and it's going pretty well. We're trying to market it to the students and like post about it on social media because it's a good way of getting them involved with community service and stuff. So it's pretty great. And then as said, the spring sports are starting to do their scrimmages, and it's a good way of getting the pep rally is a good way of getting students to go to the games as well. So
Thank you. Anything else, Valentina?
that's all.
I'm amazed in the last few months I had the opportunity with the lobby project going on just to visit the site, Teddy and I,
Yeah.
and it's amazing what goes on in that high school.
Yeah, a
It
lot
really
of students
is.
are in the lobby now.
Yeah.
It's a great place now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Alfano, anything on your end?
Just 3 resolutions, Mr. Capano.
Please.
Again, we spoke about number 41. That's the final resolution that will go to the county and state. The board is kind enough to approve it. So again, that's resolution 41. It was tentative. It is now final. Resolution 42, we are renewing our food service contract with Pomptonian. That is resolution 42. And resolution 44, we are going to be purchasing 400 Chromebooks, including licensing. Is that correct, Mr. Savastano? At a cost of approximately $300 per Chromebook, again, including licensing, for a total cost of approximately $123,000 from Dell Technologies, who are state contracted. And that is resolution 44. Mr. Savastano, thanks for all your help with that. We're purchasing them early to get them on, get the Chromebooks. I think they'll be in maybe the next 3 or 4 weeks to kind of kickstart 25-26. So, Mr. Savastano, thank you for all your help with that.
Anything else, Mr. Alfano?
That's pretty much it, Mr. Capano.
At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Any comments in reference to this evening's agenda? Please come up and state your name. Hey, how are you?
Good evening, Mark Muller, 42 Lincoln. Just checking on the status, we're crowding, where are we with our design professionals?
Well, this evening, the Board of Education interviewed ENV Architects, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Alfano.
Correct.
They're based out of Englewood Cliffs. Our in-house engineers are Land Associates. The board wanted to try to look into another firm. This firm is currently working with a lot of districts in northern Bergen County, Lodi, and Wallington, Westwood, etc. We interviewed them, and we're going to, at our next month's work session, make a decision which way we're moving forward. We also want to have discussion with Steve Fogarty, our attorney, if we need to procure RFP for professional services for engineering services to do a physical need assessment. This evening, we explained to him our wish list, explained to him where we want to go. We also explained, the board sat down and took into consideration what a referendum entails. the process of it and all of that. So we went through all of that, and by, I'd probably say our May meeting, we should have an appointment of a firm to do our physical need assessment, to come back to the board and say, this is what we can do at the high school, this is where we can expand, this is where we can reconfigure inside the high school also. So it's a broad, general physical need assessment that's going to be done.
By May?
By May, where we're going to appoint
Okay.
the engineer of record after possibly a procurement process, whatever Stephen Fogarty recommends, and then they'll start the process. And what's nice about it, they'll have this summer to go through the building, go work with our administrators, and then put a team together to compile what we can do to try to achieve a referendum.
That entryway, was that a grant or was that taxpayer dollars?
Which entryway?
The one that was just
In
constructed?
the lobby? That was capital reserve money that was saved and budgeted. So it's part of the overall last year budget.
And you've seen there and you've walked through?
I was there a considerable amount of time, yeah, and I've
It's an
walked through.
entryway.
I'm sorry?
The board, again, the overcrowding issue, right, it's been going on for years, right?
Correct.
Everybody was aware of this situation, correct?
Correct.
And everybody thought it was a good idea to put that money towards that and not take that and put it towards the overcrowding issue.
When we did our physical need assessment, that part of the building needed an overhaul, as the ceilings were primarily lower. We had some asbestos in the ceilings that needed to be rectified, and the ceilings on the floor tiles
Right.
needed to be rectified. And what we did is, after we spent X amount of dollars to enhance the gym, we felt that entrance would be a good fit to it. And I understand your opinion may not be to that liking, but the board felt that was the route to
So
go.
aesthetics is more important.
It's not more important. It's something that needed to be done because, like I indicated to you before, let me speak before you smirk at me.
I'm not
Okay? You are smirking at me, Mr. Moeller, and you have a tendency to do that. Let me speak. Give me that opportunity. We've spoken in previous meetings that we wanted to rehab that lobby to make it adequate and code efficient also. We had some issues in there with piping, etc. We needed to add cameras, security, and all of that. And we decided to do that. And we presented a nice lobby that's going to flow, and it's going to flow into the academics of the school.
Have a great night.
You too, Mr. Moeller. Anybody else from the public have any comments or questions? Anybody from the board? At this time, Mr. Alfano, I'll make a motion to approve this evening's agenda. Do we have a second?
Yes. Is that
A
Mr.
second from
Nadrou?
Clayton. Roll call, Mr. Alfano?
Mrs. Abreu?
Yes.
Mr. Capano?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Here. Yes.
Mr. Nadrou? Dr. Pantaleano?
Yes.
Mr. Raincourt?
Yeah.
Mr. Abacchia?
Yes.
So moved, Mr. Capano.
Thank you. I'd like to wish everybody a great rest of the night, and once again, enjoy your evening. Thank you. Can we get a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting? Carl Raincourt, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you so much, everyone.